Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Explode Your Expert Business Show. And today I'm here with Kylie Menz. How are you doing, Kylie?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am incredibly well. It has been a while. We wanted to arrange this interview and finally happened. Finally, we made it. We're going to talk about creating online courses, and we're going to talk about what you do if you are starting out, or if you're a bit more advanced as well. There are going to be some advanced strategies that we're going to share during the course of this interview. Now, before we get started, can you just spend a couple of minutes to give us a bit more background on like why did you end up like becoming passionate or working in this field about helping other people creating their courses?
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So, so I left the corporate, I guess the corporate rat race world, as they say. I was an estate agent for over 7 years. So I built a bricks and mortar business doing corporate sales. And then I went into headhunting and recruitment for 2 years just because I didn't want to work weekends. I was so done with working weekends. And my big turning point to my entrepreneurial journey was my boss come in at that recruitment company bragging about having his travel card because he was retirement age and still loving coming into work. And I was like, I don't want to be you in 10 years time or whatever it was. And so I just went, that's enough, I've had enough. But of course at the time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I kind of didn't want to do sales. I was so overselling and overdoing sales. I didn't want to become a sales coach or anything like that. And I went to the National Achievers Congress was my big turning point. Because I got there and went, wow, there's so much going on out there that I didn't even know about. And that's what got me into the little online world of the internet. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. You can leverage and sell things. And I started affiliate marketing. That's how I got selling. So I started affiliate marketing first, selling other people's products and programs online. Got around some big internet marketers like the Frank Kerns, the Shakirs, all those sorts of guys that have been internet marketing for a long time, and learnt those internet marketing skills. But I didn't necessarily gel with that type of the industry. It was a little bit get rich quickie for me. And so I kind of then started to look at how I could combine my business skills with my internet marketing skills. And what I realized was I'm really darn good at pulling knowledge out of people's heads and packaging it into programs. And that's how I got started doing what I do.
Wow. And I think I remember, I remember I've been to a couple of the National Achiever conferences, and it's mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing because it just gave, I remember the first time I attended one, that's gave me a sense of possibility.
Yes.
Of that gave me something to look forward to. And like yourself, I don't relate with a big part of our industry that we're in, or like the part of the get rich quick or sell it anything, like seeing people as like what's the best way can take money out of them, which is unfortunately a side that happens in this industry, but happens in any other industries, not just in our industry.
No,
there are the situations. And resonate more with the service and the supporting and the being there for our audiences and our people. And you are not, you don't have a UK accent. You don't have clearly a British accent, neither an Italian accent. So when did you, so you're from, so you're from Australia, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah. So I come over, I've actually stopped counting because I only come over for 6 months and now I've been here 18 years, 18, 19. I think I've kind of stopped counting now. But yeah, that was when I found my passion for travel, was when I come overseas. I was like, yeah, there's a whole world out here and let me explore. So, and now I've been to 45 different places since I've traveled. I
know you love traveling.
Yeah.
What made you move to the UK in the first place? Like, what was
it's as simple as that. I was very lucky because my mum was English, so she was born here. She went out when she was 4 to Australia,
right?
Because they went out with the Air Force, and my granddad transferred out with the Royal Air Force. And I wasn't a convict. Much people get told that all the time. And so I was lucky I got a passport. And of course, so what I originally wanted to use the UK for was a base for traveling. Because obviously then it was a base, it was easier. It was normally cheaper to travel from here than it was to from Australia, where you've always got at least a 20-hour flight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's I think that there is a beauty. There's a lot of beauty in traveling. You become a much richer person.
I 100% believe
inside.
that. And I love traveling by myself too, which is a bit weird for women. Not a lot of women like to travel by themselves, but I find it broadens my horizons more. I meet new people. You don't get kind of stuck talking to, because you naturally cling to the people you're with when you're traveling. And because I travel a lot by myself, you just have to deal with stuff. So
you have to meet new people. You have to have conversations. I can relate to that. I was absolutely doing the same. Yeah. And you're right, though. It's like generally you find more men that will travel on their own for obvious reason.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
You gotta be careful.
You have to use common sense. There's a lot of my friends that have got in trouble that don't use common sense, but you just have to be a bit more aware. And there's certain times you join groups. There's certain times you make sure that you kind of people know where you are and things like that. That's you have to be a little bit careful.
So let's look at the launch strategies. Let's look at creating and launching an online program. If someone is starting out and they have an idea, they want to launch a course, but they don't really know where to start. What are the things that they need to consider to get that started?
Yeah, so obviously I take them through normally, like I said, I've got a 4-step process I take them through. And the first thing is obviously doing your homework first. And that's the planning stage, because what I find is people don't. They sometimes create what they want and then they don't consider actually what people need. So again, it's always starting with the foundations and getting your foundations right first. So definitely understanding what your gift is and what you actually want to teach. So I always say find your one thing. That for me is the most important thing, is not to overcomplicate it and choose the thing that you love the most. And there's a couple of cool methods I use to do that. One is obviously, what are you passionate about? What do you love doing? What do you know loads about? And then what will people pay for? And then it's like I said, you find the sweet spot in between, and at least you've got a good starting point that, because I hear a lot of people that love something, want to do it, but then no one will pay for it. So you've got to have all three to make something work. So that's one quick method of starting to think about like what you can do with an idea. Yeah, how you can formulate it.
Absolutely. I think you can definitely, there is one question I want to ask you in particular when talking about that you can pay for, because there are a lot of people in our industry that will talk about, follow your passion, follow your passion, follow your passion. But if I'm passionate about something that people don't want to pay for, it doesn't solve like a problem where people will want to pay for some good money for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have a passion project, you don't have a business. Did you ever find people that you were working with where you had to steer them away from either an idea to find something that they were passionate about and they can actually make them money?
Yeah, totally. It's probably the one thing I dig into the most first, because I had a girl the other day, exactly that, coaching her a couple of weeks ago. She had a fabulous idea. She's really passionate about it, but the audience, I said, you're going to cap yourself probably at a couple of £100 mark. Simple as that. There was no way the audience would pay more than that for it. So you either have to adjust, like you said, is there a target audience for it? Yeah. And if so, you have to understand who that is and hone into it. Or you have to tweak your idea slightly towards a market that that can actually pay for it. So yeah.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Sometimes you can still do the things that you're passionate about, but you got to change market to find actually a market that have the money to pay for that very thing.
Yeah. And you do, and it's one of the big things you hear a lot, because I work with quite a few therapists and people like that as well, and they're like, they don't like charging. You know what they're like? They hate charging for their services. But again, like when you show them some extremes, like even I still get blown away by some people how well they do this. So I saw an example of a girl the other day that was a relationship coach. And I said to a few people, what's the maximum you think a relationship coach could charge? Yeah. And people were like, maybe up to 10, 20, sort of K sort of thing. And she was charging $75,000 for her program. And even when I see things like that, I'm like, whoa, I thought I was thinking big. But she had just honed her market so well. It was absolutely beautiful. You know, she knew who she served. She took a top level of CEO. Obviously, it costs them more to get divorced than it does to get, you know, to go through anything. And she just honed in on her target market and realized she only needed 1 or 2 people for the year. That was hitting her goals.
And that's it. And that's it. That's a great point. So we are looking at first part is about planning.
Yeah, totally.
What's next? What's the second step?
The second part is then packaging. So that's obviously working out how you want to deliver your knowledge to the world as well. So I hate all this one size fits all type scenario that's out there. It's working out a package that works for you, how you can actually really get your content across in the best way that you love doing. But then also looking at obviously the scalable element is, can you then scale it in any way so that you can move forward in your business? Because so many of us create jobs for ourselves. Speaking from experience.
Tell us a bit more about your experience.
Yeah, so as you know, I love doing, I obviously, like you said, I love launching and I love launching programs, but I very much got into that horrible pattern, which so many entrepreneurs get into. And that was, I was literally getting a really big client, working with them deeply, and then coming out the other end, A, with either no next client, or B, just the fact that I was only working with that one person and there was no way that I could scale that service. And as much as I love doing them, it's actually was restricting my business growth. And I kind of had to slightly suck eggs and do what I teach my clients to do, who are done very successful with what I teach them, and do it for myself, which was quite funny because it took me 2 years to do my own. So yes,
from your experience,
yes.
why? I mean, you can talk about yourself, but I know you work with a lot of people that have that are in that same situation. The light decided to disappear, right? It just flicked. It just flicked. So this interview is so powerful that my lighting system then decided to pop suddenly. So having said that, and light aside, why do you think there are a lot of people that either like yourself that get stuck in that pattern? They know they have to break away, but they're still there. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I think mindset's obviously got to be the first one. It's total belief that either you can do it yourself, or that also it's going to add value to clients. Because I guess I had a bit of a way where, for me, obviously what I was doing was it's the done with you type services, and I thought that was the most valuable thing that I was doing. So again, it's like people get nervous about taking their one-on-one contact and how can they do it in a leverage way, but still get their clients great results. And I think that's one of the big nervousness I see people coming up when they're sort of starting to think about how can they scale, is losing that kind of one-on-one kind of contact. Yeah, but mindset is the other one, is totally around belief, is can you charge what you want to charge? Can you still deliver an amazing program? Will clients buy from you? So I think definitely getting over your own mindset blocks around scaling and things like that you need to do.
I mean, you managed to make it work.
Yeah.
So what was the turning point for you to actually make peace with the fact that, yes, you can charge what you want to charge, even in a group program. My clients are still going to have an incredible service and getting great results. Like, what was the turning point that gave you that belief you could do that?
Doing it. It's doing it. And I say this to my clients all the time. The best way you develop a great program is to launch it and then run it. So it does, because it reinforces it. And like my clients, I remember Kate telling me after she launched hers and spent 5 weeks with her clients, she was like, I've loved this more than I ever thought I would. So it is definitely doing it, implementing it. So take my own advice. I was like, yay. And then I realized I could actually do it, but you might have some small adjustments. So one of the things I had to do was I realized when I work one-on-one with clients, I can do a launch in 6 weeks, an effective and a really good launch. But when I was working in a group format, what I found is, because I wasn't necessarily the one pushing and controlling it as much, I had to give them just a little bit more time space. So they still got there, but they normally needed that extra couple of weeks. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
See, I told you I keep losing my voice. Extra couple of weeks so that then they get the same results. So, and that's where you can adjust your program to work with your clients.
It's fascinating how this dynamic plays out at different levels as well, because I've been running a leverage program and group programs 7 years, I think. So I launched a group program almost at the same time as one-to-one program. So I didn't have that doubt would it work. What happened though, when I started working with a different categories of clients that I wasn't comfortable with, or that was work that I was predominantly doing one-to-one, then I find challenges to actually say, can I do this type of work? I can do others, but can I do this type of work in a group program? And when we launched and it took me 1.5 years to launch our influencer program, which is for 6- and 7-figure business owners. It's in a group format. Normally, I would just work one-to-one, and then our team would work in the other group programs or other one-to-one sessions. But I just couldn't. In my mind, I was stuck with the fact and the fear of, will I be able to serve them in the best way?
Yeah.
And so it's something is interesting how that continues playing at different levels, even if it's your first program you're launching, or maybe you're launching a program that is new, doing something that you've been doing one-to-one, there is still the same kind of doubt.
Yeah, and I don't think that doubt ever goes away. I think that's all part of the entrepreneurial
until
journey,
you do it.
We have doubts and different beliefs, exactly, until you actually do it. And there's obviously ways, like, obviously I like to do like a softer beta launch first, because I always think that gets them over the mindset of, starting to work with a few clients, you get comfortable with delivering the content, and then you can start to obviously then scale it. So, there's ways of softly introducing that too in relation to what you do, but you're always going to come up against blocks because it's always your own things you're putting out there. It's very vulnerable. It's like, can I do it? And I don't think that ever stops as an entrepreneur, no matter what you're doing. It's like my book that's still sitting there. I've got a massive block about releasing my book. It's crazy. And it is that sort of fear. It's like, well, is it going to be good enough? Is it enough? It's like, I think we all go through
and then you do it, and then you realize, oh, actually people are enjoying it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I set myself a goal at the end of this month after lockdown. I said, that's it. It's got to come out. Yeah.
So let's go to point number 3. So we have planning, we had productize and packaging. The third one?
And then the third one's obviously promoting. So it's obviously starting to get out there and promote it. Again, I don't create content beforehand. I always promote first to make sure it sells. Very much like sell first, get paid to create is always a good model to have. Which I'm sure I know you do as well.
Absolutely. All the time. I never create something which is not being paid for.
No, never. I've seen people many times spend hours and hours and hours creating amazing content, and then it never sell and not get used. So always promote it first. And then it also gives you an incentive to create it, because then you have a deadline, which most people operate better when they have a deadline. So if you're procrastinating on an idea, it's another way to obviously do it, isn't it?
Now you are forced to sell that, like to deliver that thing. I have sold it. You got people waiting for it.
Yeah.
It's almost
suddenly
like
it's real. If
you had 100 people buying your book now, I guarantee that end of next week is going to be out.
Thanks, Simone.
You're welcome.
You're right. It's true. It's funny I haven't applied it to that one. But it is true. It's like, when like you said, most people won't let other people down. And like you said, especially not if you've got buyers, you're going to actually get out there and do it. And it forces you to have to do it. So it is the best way, again, to get out there and start promoting it, definitely.
So we have point number 3, promotion, and point number 4.
And then that's profiting. So that's the kind of last leverage of, once you've got it out there, once you've created it, once you've tested it, then it's about how do you then create real profits from it. And that starts looking at things like scaling systems, JV partners, things like that. So how can you then start to leverage it? Yes.
The light came back.
Come back.
Let's keep going. Our
Have you got a
light
thing
is.
for profit, Simone?
I was thinking like the light is listening right now, and maybe it didn't like too much the packaging part,
Yeah.
but it really liked the profiting one. That's when it came back.
Love that. Oh, it's so good.
So if someone has been, so the fourth one is profiting. If someone
Yeah.
has been around for a while and they want to either launch a new program or repurpose an existing one, what are some of the ways in which they can optimize it or they can, tweak what they've already done if it's not their first time?
Yeah, so I think that definitely then, bringing in definitely affiliates and JV partners can really obviously, really just increase and leverage a launch. And especially if you've already got a track record. So obviously, like you said, if you've already sold it, you've already got credibility, you've got client results, it's much easier then to bring people on board to go, hey, would you promote this? And then you can spend time creating obviously promotion packages and plans with those sorts of people. Marie Forleo is still always my favorite with that. I think she's still the best one that's ever done it. She's successful at it time and time again. I think if anyone's been out there at the moment, they would know Stu McLaren's another one. Obviously, the Tribe is another big one.
I think she made like was that 6 million in his last launch in the last few weeks. So that ain't bad. That ain't bad.
That's where, as you said, once it's created and tested and you've got track record, it's very easy to say to someone, look, I can sell this. And hey, by the way, do you want 50% of it or whatever percentage? You then have that scalability. And one of my clients is actually doing that at the moment with someone else, unfortunately, but hey ho, that's life. But they've got a track record now. They did 200K with their program last year, and now they're leveraging that program out to someone else, into someone else's bigger. They've got a big list and a big playing field, and that's where you can then really start to reap the profits. Definitely.
I've been doing that for a long time in the event space, because you can do it in the online space and the event space as well.
Yeah.
And what people have found that are interested in when you are lining up joint ventures on partnership, what they're interested in and what you got to demonstrate is can you sell? You said a great thing. You demonstrate you can sell. What are your conversions? What are if I get you on my stage, how much money are you going to make me? Exactly. And how well are you going to treat my audience? Because at the end of the day, it's their reputation that goes on the line. It's not just about the money. It's also about...
No, because it's like you said, especially a lot of people, they won't necessarily do many promotions to their own audience. There'll be a very select few that they'll promote. So, and you've done that exceptionally well in the event industry. That's how you've got to where you are as a reputable...
It was all promotions. It was all promotion. But I remember the biggest question that people were asking me is, can you sell?
Yeah.
If I put you on the stage, what's your average conversion?
Yeah.
And show me the program, give me the case studies, and then it was building the relationship with them as well, which is another part. I want to tap again a bit more on the profiting side. If someone wants, what are some of the ways in which you can leverage a program in the best way? So you mentioned JV. What else can we do?
What else can you do? Obviously, your own promotion. So hence the reason I'm with Simone is promoting yourself. So this is where also you need to really start to build your profile. So if you haven't joined Profile Builder, I'm going to give you a plug there, Simone. Start to think about that. But it's true, because it's the next stage is obviously then is how big is your profile as well? Like what can you do to actually build your profile, continue list building and growth building around what you do. As you know, I'm launching my podcast. You've had your podcast for was it 4 or 5 years now?
4 years. Yeah, 4 years.
So, things like that where you're building your own credibility and growth is obviously really important in the profit stage as well. It's like, what are you doing to actually expand your own brand and profile with credibility, definitely. And then I think with the actual program itself, is like you said, that I like to keep it super simple. I don't like to overcomplicate it. So say someone like Steph, they did 200K with one program. So, I don't like to complicate things. And you look at Marie Forleo, how many millions does she do? She has one program. So again, do not complicate it. It doesn't have to be complicated. It has to be good. But then ideally, like you said, you want to have 1 or 2 levels of support around it. So is there another level or a layer of support you could potentially provide around the same level of content? So that's when they'll look for a different layer. So you might have another income stream that you could create there as well. So it's looking at different income streams around the same level of content.
I really like what you said about two things. One is the simplicity. What happens that what a lot of people will do, they will create a program and then they launch it the first time and they're looking, okay, let me create something new. Let me create something new. Let me create something new.
Yeah. But hang on, I only got 5 sales money. I'm gone now. That's it. Okay, that doesn't work. It's like, I've seen that. I've had clients do that where, you know, they don't necessarily believe a 10K launch is a good launch. And you're like, really? Like, you've just done this. You've just tested it. Let's really develop it. So again, and you know this, you see this with people with Facebook ads. I've run one ad, it doesn't work, so it can't possibly work. So developing your program is the key, is making it better. You know, I was talking to someone the other day that's got a great program, and they were talking about ways to improve it. And like I said, at the moment, you know, people are really looking for an experience. They're looking for the personal touch. So we were brainstorming ways to kind of add that into their program to create a much more rounded, you know, kind of personally create a real experience around the content rather than just here's the training sort of scenario. So again, it's always thinking about how can you improve it? How can you develop it? There's always another reviewing it. Yeah. That's what Marie does well.
That's a great point. That's a great point. It's not about stopping the first time, not the second time, but how can you make it better every single time? Because you will have people in your audience that will not join the first time, will not join the second time, but they want to, and they're just checking you out. And there will be a time when they will say, okay, yes, I'm in. But they've seen you now launch a program for 5 or 6 times, or they've been following you for 6, 7 years before they will make that step. And if you change all the time, the message that you're sending is, I'm volatile.
Yes.
That's the message you said. You can't really trust me because I'm going to change my mind very frequently.
Yeah. And I actually talked to someone about that the other day, because I said to her, I've seen you change. And I suffered from this when I first started. So I think the last 12 months, probably the last 8 months, my business has really grown because I stuck to it.
You've been really consistent. You've been incredibly consistent.
Yeah, and I have now, but I wasn't before. It's like you said, I chopped and changed, especially around my target market, who I was serving, what I was doing. And, you know, sometimes you have to go down that path as well. So the other thing I would say to people is, you know, just because you're launching a program now doesn't mean it's going to be your forever program. You know, it could change. It might change. Now, Marie's is obviously B School, and that's what she stayed with all the way through. But, you know, it doesn't mean it has to be. But what it will do is by taking the action, you'll develop and find the right thing for you.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the other thing is it will grow, but consistency is, like you said, if people can know that you're the expert. I was saying this to someone else the other day. They were like, oh, but I want to help this person, you know, this day. They want to help that person. And, oh, but I want to help that person. And I'm like, yeah, but the power of case study after case study after case study, people really underestimate the power of continual results with something. Whether it's a result of what they've done. So like obviously one of mine is a result around launches. I can say I've done 10K launches, 20K launches, 60, 70K launches, and now nearly a 6-figure launch. You know, and it's like, so I can say that that's developed. So it's like, what can you say that has developed for your clients? Consistency in relation to case studies and results.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the power of people really underestimate, of like choosing that one thing and getting known for it. Yeah.
And what you mentioned as well before, you said about B School and Mary Forleo, she stuck with it. But if I remember well, her very first program was like a fitness program.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know it then.
So it was, no, me neither. I think I was watching one of her videos, and I was talking about it. So even for her to find B School, to find her thing, then she went through different programs to then identify, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And this is what
you're going to change and grow. Definitely. Like, you know, there's a guy I'm watching at the moment who's just kind of really shot through in the ClickFunnels space, Tanner, and he was a fitness trainer. So he was teaching other people how to leverage online for fitness businesses. You know, he did 7 figures in that first, and now he's gone on to do 8 figures. But now he's helping more generic businesses because he's already got that profile. And then what bugs me is when one of those people turn around and go, oh, you don't need to niche. It's like, yes, you do when you start. And most people I've seen ever run successful businesses have niched somewhere along the line when they first start, you know, because they built their credibility in that thing. Then they get known, and then you can branch out, you can expand.
You're looking at Gary Vee as well. Brilliant example of, you know, right now he's talking about everything and anything. But when he started out, it was Wine Library TV.
Yes.
That's it. It was doing wine reviews, and it was selling wine cases. That's what he was doing. That's it. Day in and day out, every single hour. And then build a profile.
That's it.
Then when you have a mainstream profile, you leverage all the work and the credibility and the audience that you have built in the past. That's what you leverage.
Yeah.
So great conversation around this.
Before, it's so important, and people really underestimate it. They really do. And I've heard time and time again where people have got these random niches that are doing so well. You know, I know Rob Moore always mentions one, which is around, you know, someone that was a karate teacher or something, who teaches businesses how to grow their karate businesses. And most people would have thought that wouldn't be a big enough niche. But, you know, he's got 200 clients that literally pay him over and over and over again to build their businesses. And he's just kept that speciality. Now he could probably move into maybe boxing niches, or, you know, it's like that's when you can grow and expand. But people really underestimate. And I always say to people, but how many clients do you really need in a year? You know, that's the other thing. People think they need thousands. I'm like, well, you know, if you're selling slightly high ticket, actually, you probably need about 50. Is there 50 of those out there? Yeah. You know, so that's one of the things I always start to get them thinking about as well, is how much do you really need?
That's brilliant, Kylie. So now I want to wrap up the conversation, and it's time to lift the veil. And in this part of the conversation, I ask all my guests to share a tool or an app or a book, something you have discovered recently that made your life or business better. What's that for you?
Can I share two things? Is that really tricky?
Greedy.
Only because I want to share my favorite book, because it was it's a book that most people don't think about because it's not a business book. But it was the one that touched me the most, that made me really think about stuff. And that was a book called The Top 5 Regrets of Dying by Bronnie Ware. And I still recommend it, and I still talk about it all the time, because it was about her journey of helping people that were sick, basically, and listening to all their top regrets, and how then it changed her life in relation to how she lived her life. And if you know my story, like I said, my brother was my turning point in relation to living life to the fullest. So that's definitely my book. So it's a novel, it's a readable one, it's not a business book, which I love, but I highly recommend that. And you know, my little app at the moment I was talking about before, which I love, is called Subtitle, and it's ZUB title. And that's a little app that does all your videos. So one of the things I've been massively focusing on in my business over the last sort of 3 to 5 months is building my LinkedIn profile back up hugely. And I kind of let it go after I left my corporate world. I didn't really want to be on there, but now I'm using it. And Subtitle's fabulous for adding subtitles really quickly, adding your banner, your logo, your colors and your brand. And so I just sit there and batch content with it. So Subtitle's my favorite.
So you recorded directly on Subtitle?
No, I don't.
Or do you record it like on a phone app, like on the camera?
Yeah, I just do a normal video either on my phone, or I've got a secret Facebook group I do all my lives because I like sitting on my laptop. So and I just download them. It's quick, it's easy, it's done. I can just sit here and roll out literally video after video, and then I just hit download, and then I upload to Subtitle. It does all the transcript for you. It does all the, you can get your it is the CRS file, RSV?
No,
the one with the text.
SRT file.
SRT, that's it.
SRT file.
You get the SRT file. See, I'm a tech geek and I hate technology. SRT file, and so if you need that for anything else, you've got that as well. And then it gives you a transcript as well. So you can create blog posts out of it. You can. I'm
gonna check it out. You know, like after about was that almost 300, definitely 300 episode recorded.
Yes.
At the moment of this. I
Well,
like
I'm the inconsistent queen.
I just like having interesting conversation. I
Yes.
learn that's why I love the podcast. I think it's a very selfish project for me, and I always say that I do the podcast mainly for myself, and that's
Yeah.
it. Then
I must admit, I'm looking forward to launching mine
and
because of the
is that
same. I'm like, I love conversations like this.
I've
Yeah.
learned so much in the conversation with you, whether it's things that I knew already, that it was like a reminder, am I doing this? How can I improve my programs? How can I improve my services? When you mentioned about joint ventures, uh, I know that like one of the things you reminded me is to create material for joint venture partners in this conversation.
Yeah.
And so it's a constant reminders, and also like learning about subtitle. Here you go. And it's brilliant. My assumption is if it's interesting for me, it will be interesting for the people that are following me.
Yeah.
That's my assumption. And so thank you for being
My
part
pleasure.
of it.
I've enjoyed it. It's been a great chat.
So, Kylie, someone wants to reach out to you, work
Yeah.
with you, launch their programs. What's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, so obviously either Facebook or LinkedIn, I'm on it all the time. Virtually live there, well, other than Zoom right now. So it's just straight under my name. You'll find me everywhere, Kylie Menz. And the best thing is really just book a conversation. That's what I would say. Let's have a conversation, see if I can help. And if I can, fantastic. If I can't, I'll point you in the right direction.
All right, that's brilliant. So we're going to put the links as well to Kylie's calendar, so then you can book
Lovely.
a conversation with her, and then all her social media links. I recommend and encourage you to follow her, get involved in whatever she's doing, because she knows her stuff. I've seen her like working with a lot of clients, doing all her launches, and you're in good hands. So make sure you reach out, you get in touch with her, and don't let this be the start of the conversation, on the end of the conversation. That's what I like. That's what I want this podcast to be. You find someone you resonate with, great, get in touch and use this as a starting point for the conversation. Kylie, thank you very much for being on our show today.
Thank you, audience. Wherever you're tuning in from.
All right, audience, thank you very much for being with us today. If you haven't subscribed to the show, make sure you subscribe to your favorite podcasting platform, or if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. And as well, if you haven't left a review yet, please leave a review. It's important for 3 reasons. One, let us know, we can let the guests know what you enjoy the most, and let them know the impact that they're making in your lives. Secondly, it will definitely help you with the YouTube ranking, with the podcast ranking. The more reviews you leave us, the more more people will listen to the podcast. That's how it works. And if you like the work that we do, we put a lot of effort to get incredible guests all the time. That I will really appreciate. It will really help the show. And then the last thing, if you don't do it for the review, if you don't do it for the podcast, if you don't do it for the guest, it's good, really good for my ego. It makes me feel really good about myself. So if that's maybe a reason for you, just leave me a bloody review, and we're good with that. Okay, so
right.
Thank you very much. I'll see you next time. Ciao.
Bye.